Order, order. Jim Shannon to move the motion.
Ms. Buck, can I first of all say that this House has considered the freedom of religion or belief? Can I put on record first my thanks to all the honourable and right honourable members here today, as well as the Minister who I spoke to yesterday and who has spoken to me before this, for their interest in the vital right of freedom of religion or belief, a right which is very close to my heart, and I'm sure close to the heart of everyone in this room, those who are here. There are many, Ms Buck, who would like to have been here, but we took this debate because it was offered to us at short notice, and unfortunately that meant a clash with the diary of many other right honourable and honourable members who wish to be here. Those of us who are here will carry the flag, so to speak, and we'll speak out on behalf of these issues. Declare the interest as the Chair of the APPG on freedom of religious belief, and also Chair of the Pakistan Religious Minorities, which I have the privilege to chair both. I would like to thank the Backbench Committee for granting this important debate. I initially applied for this debate on freedom of religion or belief back at the end of October, so that it would coincide with International Freedom of Religion or Belief Day. However, due to that general election, this had to be postponed. So I thank the committee for persevering and finding time for the debate, because unfortunately the problems we were to discuss back in November have not gone away, and in some cases have gotten even worse. For example, in January, I had the privilege of attending the launch of Open Doors World Watch List report, which highlights the persecution facing Christians around the world. The report paints a grim picture of a worsening situation for Christians, with 260 million, an increase of 15 million since 2019, living in countries where there is a risk of high, very high or extreme levels of persecution. The report cites many other concerning statistics, such as the 5,500 churches shut down in China over the last year, and at least 1,445 physical attacks and death threats imposed against Christians in India in 2019. This terrible state of affairs is why I welcome the FCO's commitment to supporting persecuted Christians, and put on record my thanks to the Minister and his department and those previous to him for their commitment to that. I'd like to thank the Minister, the Special Envoy and the FORB team for all that they are doing to improve this situation. It is undoubtedly recognised by many of us that government has given this commitment, and I welcome it, and we all welcome it for what that means as well, and for the generosity and commitment and time. Can the Minister update us on this work and inform honourable members about the progress being made in implementing the recommendations of the Bishop of Truro report, as one of the questions? In particular, I'd like to know what progress has been made to improve training on FORB and making it mandatory for government officials working in countries with high levels of FORB violations. After all, how can we say sincerely that we care about FORB, about the freedom of religious belief, that we recognise the tremendous suffering that people are experiencing because of its denial, and that we understand that FORB violations can cause and exacerbate conflict, but then turn around at the same time and say that we still don't know it is important enough to have mandatory training. And we need to know, Minister, that the mandatory training is in place and that it is having an impact. Therefore, I urge the Minister to ensure that this training and the other helpful recommendations from the Bishop of Truro's report are implemented for the benefit of Christians, persecuted Christians the world over. I want to speak of one in particular. I'm going to speak because the debate's about the freedom of religious belief. So I've been talking about a number of faiths across the world, but I want to start, if I can, with Christians, and I want to start specifically in Nigeria. Today I had the opportunity to meet some people earlier on. It's from the International Organisation for Peace and Social Justice. It's a pastor, AO, who would be, and his PPS, a fellow called John Carton, and they give me some details and information about what's happening in Nigeria. I say, Ms Bucket, I pray. I'm a committed Christian. I have very, very deep Christian beliefs, and they would focus my attention in my life and where we go. But I also, and I'll say this later on as well, but I also believe as a Christian that I have a duty and a love for all people of all religions in this world, and I will speak up for each and every one of them with that in mind. Very happy to, yes.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, and he's making an important point about Nigeria, where he will remember that I'm and the Prime Minister's trade envoy. And I wonder whether he is clear, because quite frankly I am not, in the distinction between the persecution of Christians for their Christianity and the persecution of people for other reasons, such as climate change. And in Nigeria, the things that are happening with the Fulani herdsmen, for example, could quite easily be associated with climate change reasons rather than with their Christianity.
I thank the Honourable Gentleman for his intervention, and we did speak about it beforehand, and I thank the Honourable Member for Henley, because him and I participate in many debates in this House, and very often Ms Buck come forward with the same agreed ideas and thoughts and deliberations. And yes, it is perhaps a wee bit uncertain about Nigeria and what's happening. The conflict between the Fulani herdsmen over, as they would say, to do with land and climate change. But there's also, I think, in respect to that, my response to the Honourable Gentleman's intervention would indicate that the attacks upon Christians are greater than the attacks upon anybody else. Not that that lessens, and it doesn't lessen what's happening, but it does, I think, for me, indicate that there are many across the whole of Nigeria. And I want to mention just a few of those attacks upon Christians, if I can. There were 5 major attacks against Nigerian Christians in Kaduna State between January and November 2019, resulting in an estimated 500 deaths. There are at least another 5 attacks in Bassa and Riyom local councils, as well as many attacks in Taraba State. Boko Haram remain in power around the Chad border region, including parts of the Borneo state. 1,000 Christians have been slaughtered in northeastern Nigeria since January 19, and this is in addition to the over 6,000 deaths since 2015. If I could, I just want to mention some of those, again, to illustrate just how horrific these attacks are. Veronica, 35, from Dogon Noma, recounted some of the awful incidents inflicted upon her family. Her home was attacked by Fulani militia, and only she and 3 others survived. 13 of her friends and family were killed. Naomi, 54, from Karame, lost limbs in a brutal attack in her home, in which her elderly and fragile father was shot in his bed. In the Tazayea village, almost 50 people were killed, and only 2 homes were not burnt down. Boko Haram might launch an attack at any time. This morning they arrived at 4 a.m. They arrived with bombs. They focused their attacks on Christians. So whatever the reasons may be outside of that, there's very clearly what they're about. They kill the farmers as well, the Fulani farmers. They destroy our homes and churches. They kidnap and rape women. Some women are forced to marry Muslims. Boko Haram also attack government properties and the police, and no one can go beyond 5 kilometres from the town. After the debate, I just want to maybe put these 5 points on order, and on record for the Minister, if I can. In light of Nigeria's government's admission that Christians are being targeted in northern Nigeria, will the British government move a UN resolution to send in peacekeeping forces to protect vulnerable communities and citizens in Nigeria? With the UK, secondly, will the UK renew its offer to assist in the search and rescue of Leah Sharibu, an ISIS captive for 2 years now, and others abducted and enslaved Nigeria? I had the pleasure, Ms Buck, of meeting Leah Sharibu's mother, Rebecca, and her friend, Gloria, in this House with Baroness Cox from the other place, and my colleague, the Honourable Lady for Congleton, and others. So I know how important it is for her. And thirdly, will the UK government... Absolutely, yeah.
I'm very grateful to the Honourable Gentleman in giving way, and also I thank him for pushing forward to have this debate and all the fantastic work he's done on religious freedom in his time in Parliament. On Nigeria, and specifically on meeting Rebecca Sharibu, Leah's mother, I met her as the Special Envoy, and we as the government have made it very clear to our Nigerian counterparts that everything that can be done should be done to ensure the safe release of Leah Sharibu, and we will continue to do that. And I advocated that as the envoy when we met with our International Religious Freedom Alliance members to say across the globe, working together, the United Kingdom will do everything they can to ensure that Leah is released, working with our Nigerian counterparts.
Thank you. I'm deeply indebted to the Honourable Gentleman and for the work that he does. It's not a self-congratulation society, by the way. I recognise greatly what the Honourable Member does and his particular role that he plays, and the energy and the interest and the commitment that the honourable gentleman pays to this, and we're very, very pleased to see him in place, and we hope that a fruitful conclusion will come to the endeavours of the honourable member and government to make this happen. Fourthly, will the UK government focus more on most of its international development aid to Nigeria to assist the victims and the vulnerable from Nigeria's insecurity crisis? Will it use a large percentage of its aid budget to Nigeria for providing more direct assistance to internally displaced persons living in poor conditions, and for enhancing security provision for vulnerable communities and people, including the Christian communities in the North East and Middle Belt, where they have been particularly targeted? Even by Nigerian government's own admission. And fifthly, heading the Prime Minister's call for increased post-Brexit trade and investments in Nigeria, which the honourable gentleman from Henley, as the government envoy, would be interested in. What security advice and warnings are the FCO and Department of Trade offering to British investors? These are all important issues. In my role as chair of the APPG for freedom of religious belief, I campaign on behalf of all those who are persecuted, not just Christians. And I do that specifically because I'm a Christian and believe, and because I believe that my God loves everyone. And that's why I believe, and I think everyone in this room believes, that it's our duty to speak out for those not only of Christian faith, but those of any faith, and of course, just as importantly, those who do not profess a faith at all. That is why today I'd like to mention the persecution that other groups are facing around the world, such as the non-religious atheists, agnostics and other non-religious people often face extreme violations of